Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a Psych Ward Stories Part 3. So this is a story that I've really wanted to tell you guys for a while. It's pretty funny and also a little bit concerning. So when I was in the psych ward, once I got moved from the lockdown unit into the unit where I was more integrated with other patients, there was a guy who was constantly there complaining about getting peed on in the middle of the night by his roommate. So this guy was always soaking wet. And he would have on these like psych ward kind of robe things all the time, and he would just be like going off about his roommate who would pee on him in the middle of the night. So once I finally got moved to this more socially integrated unit, I was very happy until I found out that I was actually going to be roommates with the guy who was peeing on this guy every single night. So my mind instantly went to, how am I going to not get peed on by this guy as I'm sleeping? So basically what I realized is that he was around the same age as my parents, and my dad used to be in a band when he was younger and they played a lot of rock music. So my dad taught me so much about rock music and rock bands that I just know all of these songs and bands just because he taught me about them when I was younger. So I basically asked this guy when I first met him, I'm like, hey man, you look like the kind of guy who enjoys some rock music, like what kind of bands do you like and stuff like that. And he gave me bands and all that stuff, and I basically made him a full playlist of songs that I would play for him in our room. And he absolutely loved it. Like I always told this guy I had his back and everything. And I think just the relationship I built with him kept me dry, we'll just say. So this guy was pretty mentally far gone. He would often say things that didn't make sense. Like one time he was like, hey man, there's a bear in the room with you, man. There's a bear over in your corner. What are you doing with that bear? And I was like, nope, there's no bear, man. It's just me. Another time he was like, telling me there was caterpillars all over the floor when clearly there was no caterpillars all over the floor. He would also tell me that there was like pills on the floor that he was trying to get, and I would like put my hand over it and show him that there was actually no pills there. But yeah, this guy was on high doses of medication because he was very far gone. So the funniest thing about it is that I ended up becoming like this guy's main buddy. Like I was helping this dude get his like sweater on properly, his coat on properly. He needed a lot of help like tying his shoes and all that kind of stuff. The nurses were basically sick of him and they just didn't, I guess they maybe thought he was overdoing it just to get help. But really this guy really needed help, and I could recognize that, so I made sure to help him as much as possible. And obviously it was easier to do because I was not being peed on, luckily. So this guy was like really funny. I think he thought we were in prison because he would always call me his cellmate. And he'd be like, hey man, you're the best cellmate I ever had. And I wouldn't be surprised if this guy was in prison at one point, honestly, but I think he thought he was still there. So he would say things like, hey man, let's go cause some chaos out there and everything, like just in the dining room and that kind of thing. And I was like, you know what, I think I'm just gonna stay here, man. Like, I was just trying to get through the experience in order to return home. Another funny thing about this guy is that whenever my girlfriend would come visit, she would see this guy and ask where I am. And this guy would just be like, hey Brennan, your wife's here to see you. So yeah, he would just call my girlfriend my wife, and it was really funny the way he would like call me out so loud in front of everybody. But honestly, this guy needed a lot of help. Like I remember he was trying to eat cereal and he had put his cereal like all over the table. He put milk in the cup, but all the cereal was all over the table, and nobody wanted to help him. Like I said, I think the nurses thought he was like playing tricks on them or whatever, but this guy was very far gone. So I helped him get his cereal in his bowl. I was often helping this guy. But it was really funny playing those rock tunes for him in the room and everything. He was jamming out to them. I could just tell he felt like he was young again. He was dancing to them and he was doing like air guitar and all that stuff, really enjoying himself. So I honestly really did enjoy those times as well. It wasn't all just to not get peed on, but luckily it did work in that sense too. But yeah, if you're ever in a rough situation like that and you don't know what to do, make sure you think, because there's always a way out of stuff like that. Like I knew that if I built a good relationship with this guy, then everything would be okay. And I don't think the guy prior to me made any effort to do that. I think they were both on the wrong foot since the start. I also think it's important to help each other out in the psych ward. If you're ever in there and you see someone struggling a lot and the nurses aren't helping them out as much as they should be, make sure to step up, because that looks really good on you. And especially if you're a religious or spiritual person, that's the type of thing that looks good in God's eyes. And it is just nice to help people, you know, because if you're in there, then you do know what it's like to struggle, and it's just always good to help people whenever you can. But yeah, I came to the realization too that this guy was a really good guy. He just had a lot of issues that needed proper treatment. He actually wore a bracelet with beads on it, and it said the name of his dog, so I found that really cool. He would often talk about his dog, having German Shepherds, which I also have a German Shepherd, so I could relate to that. And I came to realize that he was a good guy, man. He just missed his dogs and he just wanted to get home like everybody else. And it's funny because this guy had like this like notorious kind of reputation around there, but he was honestly like a good guy. And I remember showing him pictures of my dog and he was like, oh man, she's beautiful, like what a sweetheart. And it just says a lot about who he was as a person. Another funny thing about this guy is that he always wanted his cigarettes. Like he would ask me to go out into the city and like walk around with him, and I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. But he would always be asking like, hey man, where's my cigarettes? Like I need cigarettes. And that is all this guy wanted. So I remember trying to help him quit a lot, which is something that I thought I could do, but it wasn't as easy as it sounded. So I would tell him like, oh, you're so much better off without them. Like I used to do the same thing and this is how I stopped. And he would always be like, you're right, man, like I gotta stop. But it didn't end up working out. But that's probably the most common outcome of something like that. But yeah, I hope that was enough for today, guys. I don't want to make my videos too long yet, at least until my audience grows a lot more. But always remember to stay strong and remember that you're never alone in what you suffer with. There's always people out there in the world who are experiencing the exact same thing as you. Never hesitate to reach out for help, especially if you feel as though you really could benefit from it. Thanks again for watching my videos, guys. I really appreciate you. If you didn't subscribe yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll be back soon with more great content.